Essentially, somebody had rushed through the perimeter. We now learned it was a second grade school teacher, and he was trying to do some harm.
So Stephen A. Smith just gave his first-hand account of the Washington Hilton shooting that interrupted the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And his perspective matters because he was literally in the room when it happened. We're gonna break down his eyewitness testimony, his surprisingly balanced take on Trump's ballroom proposal, and why his call for mature political discourse could reshape how we talk about these incidents.
So all of us had to get down. We ducked under the tables, ducked under the chairs, and all of that other stuff. And that's essentially what happened. In the immediate aftermath of that, reportedly the president wanted the event to continue. Folks came out and said the event would continue before law enforcement said, oh, no, the hell it will not. And the president is going back to the White House. It will not continue.
This reveals the classic tension between political optics and security reality. Wanting to continue shows leadership instincts. Don't let terrorists win. But the Secret Service correctly prioritized actual safety over appearances. It's exactly why we have professional security teams who can override political desires when lives are at stake.
We thought that we had heard that there was a shooter upstairs, not just one downstairs. We didn't know what the hell was going on. And so we weren't able to leave. And we were stuck in there and we weren't sure if anybody had gotten caught.
The terror of believing there were multiple shooters changes everything. That would indicate a coordinated attack, not a lone wolf. The fact that they were trapped, not knowing if shooters were already inside, shows how quickly a single incident can escalate into mass casualty chaos.
It was scary as hell for a few seconds there because you didn't know if the shooter was in the room. And you saw them going to protect the vice president and the president, even more so than their wives, obviously. And so if the wives were vulnerable, if other cabinet members were vulnerable, imagine the media members that were there. We were left to, basically get the hell under the table and hope that law enforcement was going to apprehend this dude, which turned out was exactly what happened.
This exposes the brutal reality of Secret Service protection hierarchy. Presidents and VPs get immediate human shields, but media members are essentially sitting ducks. At high-profile political events, journalists accept this vulnerability as part of the job. They're there to cover news, not be protected from it.
I can sit up there and point to the fact that we have a president that polarizes more than galvanizes. I can point to the juvenile rhetoric from time to time that comes out of his mouth and stuff like that. I can point to cabinet members, whether it's FBI Director Kash Patel screaming at politicians on Capitol Hill or former DOJ boss Pam Bondi going off. All of that is, to me, at this particular moment in time, irrelevant.
This is remarkable intellectual honesty. He's acknowledging legitimate criticisms of Trump's rhetoric while refusing to exploit a life-threatening situation for political points. Real experience with violence tends to strip away the partisan noise and focus on what actually matters, keeping people alive.
Because I'm not going to sit up there and blame them for the actions of some really sick individuals that's willing to do harm and, dare I say, attempt to kill people because they don't like the state of our politics or anything like that. Can it be better? You're damn right. Does it need to get better? You're damn right. But in the same breath, you understand you're an adult. You're responsible for your own actions. There's a lot that we don't like that's going on in our country. That doesn't mean we're going out trying to kill people. Okay.
This is exactly the mature approach America needs. Refusing to blame politicians for individual violence while still demanding better discourse shows real leadership thinking. Personal responsibility matters more than political blame games, especially when dealing with genuinely sick individuals willing to commit violence.
Let's talk about what's actually happening in our country from a policy perspective, whether we agree or disagree and why, as opposed to engaging in name calling, speaking about people in incendiary and derogatory fashion, and fomenting and feeding into the hostility and the ire that some sick individuals out there want to exercise and engage in. Let's stop talking about it and start doing it. Because I got news for you. It's important that we do that.
This measured adult approach to political discourse could be exactly what voters want in 2028. After years of toxic politics, someone who can criticize without demonizing and lead without dividing might have real appeal. This kind of principled stance builds credibility across party lines.
People come from all over the world trying to get to the United States of America because regardless of all of our problems, it's the land of opportunity. And why is it the land of opportunity? Ladies and gentlemen, because we may be a democracy, but we're not married to one form of government. When we don't like it, we can change it every 2 years congressionally. We can change it every 6 years from a Senate perspective. We can change it every 4 years when it comes to the White House. We ain't married to it. Life is cyclical. No matter what problems exist, we always have the potential in a democracy that is such as we have to correct the error of our ways.
This perspective on democratic renewal offers genuine hope. The ability to change course every election cycle is America's greatest strength. No matter how bad things get, we're never stuck. We can always vote for something different. That's why people still fight to get here.
A shooting nearly took place Saturday night at the same place it took place over 40 years ago when Ronald Reagan was the president of the United States. So guess what? Was it as crazy back then as it is now? Some would say hell no. But it happened, didn't it?
The Reagan shooting at the same Washington Hilton in 1981 proves this venue has long-standing security vulnerabilities. John Hinckley shot Reagan right outside this hotel 45 years ago. Political violence isn't new. The location just makes it easier for disturbed individuals to get close.
He talked about that White House ballroom that he was trying to build. He talked about how the Washington Hilton wasn't the safest place in the world. You see him up there talking now, and here's what he said. What happened last night is exactly the reason that our great military, Secret Service, law enforcement, and for different reasons, every president for the last 150 years have been demanding that a large, safe, and secure ballroom be built on the grounds of the White House. This event would never have happened with the military top secret ballroom currently under construction at the White House. That was from Donald Trump on his Truth Social post. He continues. It cannot be built fast enough. While beautiful, it has every highest level security feature there is. Plus, there are no rooms sitting on top for unsecured people to pour in and is inside the gates of the most secure building in the world, the White House. The ridiculous ballroom lawsuit brought by a woman walking her dog who has absolutely no standing to bring such a suit must be dropped immediately.
Trump's White House ballroom proposal actually addresses the core security problem. External venues like the Hilton have too many access points, unsecured floors, and advance notice. A dedicated White House facility eliminates these vulnerabilities while maintaining the tradition of these important events.
Ladies and gentlemen, I was getting text messages with people saying this was all rigged. It was a conspiracy. It was planned. And it was probably planned because he wanted the ballroom. I think that's a bit far-fetched. I think that's reaching. I think there is truly people who hate Donald Trump so much.
This pushback against conspiracy theories shows real intellectual integrity. When anti-Trump hatred becomes so extreme that people invent elaborate plots instead of accepting that disturbed individuals exist, we've lost our grip on reality. Credit where credit is due for staying rational.
If the man had a cure for cancer, they would say, no, we don't want it. I do believe that's the case in some instances. He's far from perfect. I abhor some of the things that he does. And I've said so on many occasions. And we need an adult in the room most of the time. He's not that because of what he engages in. All of those things I've said, and I'll say it again. But that doesn't make him wrong with what he just said.
The cancer cure analogy perfectly captures irrational political hatred. This kind of balanced criticism, acknowledging real flaws while recognizing good ideas, is what mature political discourse looks like. You can dislike someone's personality while supporting their sound policies.
It was advertised for weeks that the Washington White House Correspondents' Dinner was going to be at that particular hotel at that particular date and time. Who's to say the man didn't get a room in a hotel a week earlier and lied and wait? I remember watching that movie with Clint Eastwood in The Line of Fire, with him and John Malkovich, and how he was determined to kill the president and stuff like that, and how he was able to pinch. I mean, they do this stuff in movies, for crying out loud. Talks about how shrewd the devil is. He'll show you stuff that in movies and beyond that could actually be done.
The advanced notice vulnerability is real. When events are advertised weeks ahead at known locations, it gives potential attackers time to plan. The Line of Fire reference is spot on. Movies often show realistic assassination tactics that security professionals have to consider.
So let's just keep it a buck, be real about it, and understand that even when you disagree with a lot of what somebody does in this administration, it doesn't make every syllable coming out of their mouth wrong. Let's be honest about that and understand he kind of has a point. Because I got news for you.
This intellectual honesty is exactly what American politics needs. Separating policy from personality, giving credit where it's due, even to people you generally disagree with. This is how adults should engage in political discourse. It's refreshing and desperately needed.
A dead clock is right twice a day. Remember that. And understand that whether we like it or not, whether you want to think it's a conspiracy and it was rigged or not or whatever, the president has a point.
The broken clock analogy is perfect. Even people you disagree with can be right sometimes. This kind of nuanced thinking, where you can acknowledge good points from unlikely sources, shows the intellectual maturity that's been missing from political commentary for years.
Thank God everybody's okay. Thank God they caught the assailant. Thank God the Secret Service agent that was shot had on a bulletproof vest, and he's fine. And just pray that incidents like this don't happen. But also remember, as bad as things are, in a lot of people's eyes in 2026, in the 80s, it happened where the president actually got shot.
This historical perspective provides crucial context. Political violence didn't start with social media or current polarization. Reagan was literally shot in the 1980s. The fact that everyone survived this incident, including the wounded agent, shows how much security has improved since then.